In this video, I want to cover 3 teams who did way worse than expected at the FNCS Global Championship. So the first team I want to look at is, of course, Clix, Higgs, and Eomzo. Now, I think if we actually look at their match history to start with, I think that's kind of telling on where some of the problems were. So if you start to look at the placements, you can see 8th, 6th, 8th, 7th. So like on day 1, they actually had a lot of end games, but none of them they were really able to capitalize and get like a top 5, top 2, 3, you know, where all like the big placement points are. Their best placement was a top 6. I think their best game was this one here, game 5, where they had 7th place with 6 elims. Then you can kind of see there's a lot of like middling games. So the last game on day 1, 15th with 1 elim, 12th with 4, 22nd, 7th, 18th, 20th. So like day 2, way worse. Like I think these will probably be a lot of Storm Surge games. What I'll do is I'll first check their best game, which will be this one, see what they did, and then check one of these kind of worse games, maybe on day 2, maybe this 22 elim, 22nd place one or something like that. So let's check into the first game and see how their strategy unfolded. So as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, they were uncontested at Supernova Academy. They pretty much just landed to the west here, grabbed a bunch of this loot. I think off spawn, if you can end up, I was going to say getting a bunch of like tags onto players gliding, but maybe not. How high is chat? What is this absolute floater from Chap? I don't know what he's doing. Yeah, so they have a huge amount of loot. So they're cutting off this entire area here. They've got all of Supernova, and this was before a lot of this area ended up getting nerfed post Global Championship, so it's no longer that good anymore. Plus, in this game, they've also got one of the gold spawns, which I don't think are actually particularly that good anymore. They have a bunch of barrels. They have tons of heals. They cover so much of the map. But as we know, off spawn, what really more matters is what everyone around you is doing. So I think one of the main problems, I don't think they struggled too much with Surge. Actually, I know they didn't struggle too much with Surge because I've done the data. So let me whip open the sheet. So yeah, in terms of Surge, they actually were not like struggling with it too much. They got hit 17 times each by active Storm Surge, which is not great. Most FNCS winners, top 5s, you might get hit like 3, 4, 5 times by the Storm Surge. Generally, as you can see, they're like in the middle. So the lower the rank, the better, or the worse. So if you were like ranked 1 for Storm Surge hit, that means you've been hit by Storm Surge the most. So they're like 40th, middling. So they did actually struggle with Surge relatively highly. And you can see in terms of damage, Clix and Higgs doing way more, but Eomzo is not the one Surge trading at all. So these, stats aren't super relevant. The elims maybe a little bit more. Now they spent all the time getting the loot there. I must say, I don't know how no one snuck on them. Like they left the entire of Supernova Academy uncontested. I don't know how a single team didn't like teeny strat them off spawn. Like I swear if if you had other teams like Ferdoxy's team who were fighting down here, I swear if they were like up in this side, they'd have such free elims off spawn just waiting for them to like sneak back in. So essentially their Surge strat is boxing on top of Supernova here, as you can already see. Ton of extra heals, in particular the drones are really going to help with that as well. And Surge trading with Chap's team, who is relatively far away. I think this is Reason, yeah, who's set up all the way over here, who's trading with. So you already know like Clix did a really good job of actually like racking up damage. However, I'm not sure what everyone else is doing at this point because one person trading probably isn't enough. I think Higgs will probably come up and they will both trade back and forth. Like I mentioned, Storm Surge wasn't a huge issue. It was a bit of an impact, but it wasn't like their main problem. You also have the Middle East team, Snowy's team, who's boxed up next to them too. So they actually have 2 teams to trade with us so far. You have Higgs and Clix who can trade with them in this direction, and then obviously they can also trade back with Chap, who's a little further away. So probably a better idea to trade with these guys. But again, damage, not a problem. After trading for a long time and obviously getting a ton of damage, they've pretty much rotated straight to the center of the 4th zone, towered up, getting more damage from here. So pretty good strat so far. In particular, like this positioning is insanely good on this particular zone because it gives them good rotate into the 5th, whatever. So everything going well so far. And then as the zone pulls up, they unsurprisingly pull the next zone. Now they're actually getting keyed by the Middle Eastern team who they were trading with. Not sure if this team is below Surge. I'd be quite surprised if they were because they were trading back and forth with Clix. But so let's see how this fight ends up actually playing out. Yep, so they're above by 1,200. The Middle Eastern team is below. So despite the fact they were Surge trading with them, they're somehow still below, which is interesting. All right, so they get jumped on. Higgs is getting kind of packed in. Middle Eastern team's actually doing a good job of pressuring right now. They've wasted a ton of their mats. I imagine if they manage to win this fight, which I know they do. All right, I don't know what he's doing. Okay, good 3v1. They isolated the player by himself. Unfortunately, replay is bugged. As you can see, you can't see any of the, which columns? Any of the loot. Thank you for bugging all of the Global Championship VODs. That's very useful. I appreciate that. They get a fair 3v3. I think now, obviously they used a lot of mats here, but I would imagine that they managed to also get a good refresh. It would be great if I could actually see how many mats they would have, because then I could see when they got scuffed in this game. But unfortunately, replay is bugged. So far, the rotation at the 6th zone has also been very nice. Basically, refarmed brick all the way, and then I've just managed to essentially get in without even being seen once and claiming a nice little low ground spot. So generally, really good rotation, and match so far, pretty good. Again, 7th zone has popped up. They made an early rotate, stuck to a good layer, not taking a single bit of damage because of the good positioning they're in. Now this 8 zones appeared, and you can see the kind of spot that they were in. They were kind of up and more in this north area because they'd wrapped around into dead side. Now they can crash pad pretty much all the way around, which should be for free because there's not any other teams down here this early yet, as long as they make sure like a team doesn't land on their head or anything. Great mid-game rotate so far. Early into this moving zone, first one, they do get an elim, so let's see how they end up actually getting this. They should still be stacked. Again, I can't check the amount of materials they have. Someone just runs straight into the box. I have absolutely no idea what Pump was doing there. I don't know if he got dropped down because of the server lag or not, but they've also now got another refresh. The fact that they're managed to frag out a little bit in the mid-game is definitely setting them up well. Like the early splashes, this is really good. Saves them a ton of materials, and then they get a really safe crash pad in as well. Sure, they waste a bit of white heals, but if they have more splashes, maybe not. Do they have more splashes? You can play triple medkits? Yeah. So essentially, by playing the Storm and using the splashes early, sure, they had to use like 3 medkits there. How many materials did they save just by being able to use a single crash pad and do it really safely without getting beamed? Really nice rotate. I actually really like that Storm tank there. They go for a pre-edit. Managed to get it off the rip, but okay, not managed to get anything out of that, unfortunately. They are a bit scuffed. They're in the low layers now, which is always kind of rough because you don't have a good spot to crash pad out of. Yomzo's trying to look for a spot, look for a base. Everyone getting focused around them. They're staggering, which is good. They have been blocked off, though. I think they're going to do the wall one, so you can just go on the same layer. Now they have to tarp Lil. Pretty good, nonetheless. Nice little layer they found themselves into here. Starting to get focused by the minigun, so they switch layers. The Omzo goes up, which is great. Don't know what the mats are looking like right now. Split hard, so they still have them on the layer. Ooh, very, very okay, I was gonna say very aggressive from Higgs, but the whole team was doing it. Really nice, okay. I thought he just jumped down on the wall by himself, but they managed to get the refresh, get the body back in, get mats. They get pre-edited on. Higgs takes over the tarp in there, I think, because I was gonna see Omzo got chunked, but not necessarily. Let's see, Yomzo gets back to tarping now. Up to a fine layer. Unfortunately, when you go for refreshes like that, now likely that other teams are going to try and jump onto your wall. Doms are doing a good job keeping full front. How are the boys in the back of the tarp looking? Trying to peep down. Hope they can find a resemblance of anything, but the zones are pulling back, so it's a little unforgiving. I do like how active they are. The one thing is, it seems like... Oh, I pressed the wrong button. It does seem like Clix and Higgs aren't necessarily like taking the same targets. They're kind of just each look in individual ways rather than having both players look the same way and focus in the exact same point. But whether that's just this game or that's something that's been a problem throughout the whole season, I will not know. Seems like they're scuffed down onto low mats now. All 3 sticking together. This is where they all have to be the 3-headed serpent, all attacking at the same point. Good layer to look up, run under height, covering the top, not wasting extra mats. It's now just a battle of like, can all 3 of you get a nice elim, nice refresh, get into good layer? They're getting dropped. They kind of lost Tank and Storm on the side, which is good. Yomzo dies into the backside of Storm. Ooh, don't just sprint on low ground for no reason, please. No, the whiff. Oh, the Clix whiff goes unfortunate. Higgs dies, the minimum. Okay, he managed to get it onto Marius, but he's not getting the finish. Okay, a little bit of minimums there. They basically ended up dropping and were just kind of like completely shambles and messy and weren't able to... It kind of looked like a little bit of panic out at the end, but that was their best game. It was really good up until that last moment. I felt like if they're able to get like one good refresh slightly earlier into the end of the moving zones, they would have been set up way better for like a top 3, 4, or 5. That was their best game. Got a ton of loot off spawn. Were able to trade with 2 different teams. Center zone 4th. Refresh in the middle of the game. Couple elims along the way. Tank Storm on the first moving. A lot of general like good stuff. So let's check some of the worst games or a bad game and see how that kind of compares instead. All right, let's do game 8, 22nd with 0 elims. This has got to be a Storm Surge game, I would imagine. So this game on day 2 seems to be set up somewhat similar. They're still trading with the Middle Eastern team here. Higgs is still trading with Reason's team on this side. The zone is, I was going to say, less favorable. It pulls further to the southeast. But either way, the setup is actually still the same. So the same teams are still Surge trading with them. Similarly, they've gotten a good position in the 4th zone, but there's a team sneaking up on them, which appears to be a Minished's team right now, which I do not think they're aware of whatsoever. Let's hit the little wide angle. Guys. Are we being real right now, guys? Are we being so for real right now? How are we letting this happen? How are we letting this happen? And Eomzo's triple jumped on. Okay, Eomzo full dies this game. I don't want to sit and team blame Clix or Higgs in this. That's not the point here. But if you have someone out who's harvesting a bunch of materials in the open, you know, he was out getting the brick and refarming for this, you have to check over him to make sure he's fine. You don't need to go for like tons of tags at that moment. So, you know, now you're into a 3v2 scenario where Visuals, Braids, and Minished is able just to wipe them. Let's see what they were doing during that time instead. Clix is scouting through the cone, which does not allow you to look below. Eomzo's down here. Higgs is also doing the same thing. I know a lot of people don't like building like a full Surge base anymore, like a full massive one, but in this scenario I swear that's more useful. Like, you can't be letting full trio sneak up. How did they not even know? Like, where were they even earlier than this? Like, okay, so they're miles away, they're over here. How do they even close the gap without Clix and Higgs spotting? Like, how Like, what? How did he get all the way over here? There's a crash pad. They've crashed over. Guys. We're not seeing that? Look below, bro. That's pretty bad, I'll be honest. Like, I don't know how Yomzo also see that. I guess he couldn't from the hill from that angle either. That is rough. That's a rough way to die in a global championship. Yeah, and then he gets jumped on. And then basically the game's over from there. Let's check a different one. Reach team insta-pads onto them. So now it's a 3v3 fight. Ooh, Clix gets shot in the back. Back down into the tarp. Creates a bunch of space down below, but it's awkward. Ooh, and he goes down. That's really early to die in a game. Okay, let's see. Yomzo and Higgs left as a duo. Gets the body back, which is actually impressive. I'm not sure how they managed to get that out of there. Out to 3v2 still. Good pressure onto the wall. Yomzo going for the lead it. Clix still sitting back into the corner. Higgs also. There's someone who's still not managed to get the finish onto Clix yet. This is... I was going to say a bad push. Or not a bad push, sorry. Cooper's team. Good angle. Good escape there from Yomzo to get out. Clix still just bleeding out down below. Good to hit the pre-fire. Higgs goes down, which I completely missed. Good shot from Yomzo to push off the 1v3. I think Yomzo's ended up probably just going to dip from this. Yep, crash pad's out. That team's got the 2 elims. You don't need to chase the solo that much. Has managed to get the reboot off in Storm, but I imagine now they're going to probably struggle with Surge because they've got so much less, and you lose it when you reboot your teammate. Playing a bush edge of Storm. Yeah, I think they're going to have to go for some sort of elim push. They need max Surge at this point, I would imagine. I wish I could visually see. That'd be nice. Sir, Fizz, Crash. Ooh, landing straight on Raito. Raito, Razzle, Tete. Good shot from Clix out the back. Straight in the floor. Max damage pump. Lovely stuff from Clix. Max damage surge onto the body as well. At least they have now an extra stack of loot. Now they have the numbers advantage. A bit of a long angle for him to start pressuring from. Starts to move to another one instead. This is the 3v2. They're 5 above Storm Surge, so not ideal by any means. But again, obviously, because they've ended up rebooting. So, I don't know. If you in a global championship, if you reboot and then don't have like someone to trade with, it's so difficult to stay above at all. Like even in games that were fully able to surge trade, like they weren't that far above because there's other people who are just surge trading better, essentially. Quick drops down, still below, 20 above. Ooh, another team comes right. No, that's Tate. Okay, he gets to go down. 350 above now. Clix is also finished before they managed to get them out. So, honestly, just a messy fight. It's a messy fight. What else can I say? They got packed in early in the game. Had a messy fight here where they ended up losing Clix. So now they're going to have to reboot for a second time, which I think they'll have to lose his Surge again. I'm not 100%. I actually, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure on how rebooting Surge still works this day. I swear they changed it at some point, but they are 500 above still. But now they're going to reboot and get in. It's a 2-tick storm. Clix is already dead out of the sky. They should be able to get the revive, but this is all just time wasted now. I don't know if a team's going to crash on that. I see a team flying. Is that towards them? No, it's not. Okay. Surely Clix is just dead here, right? Med mist. Okay, he's got the med mist. Should be able to get in too. If they have enough whites here, like this is now recoverable from this point of the game. All right, it's the 2-tick storm. Now people are starting to look at them. Fortunately, a bit of server lag. Might be able to miss. Crash pad goes out. Higgs hits it. And he's dead. He is wiped out. Obviously, rebooting Clix has just taken so much time that now they've lost Higgs as well. They're also 140 above Surge now. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to spoil. They're going to die here. Let's skip ahead. There's just no way they survive this. He's got nothing. He goes down. Yomzo in Storm. I don't know how many... Well, he's about to die too. Even if he doesn't, he's going to die to Storm Surge. He gets focused and get. This game, honestly, they suffered from a severe case of getting packed in itis, where, yeah, they basically just lost. They struggled in 2 mid-game fights. Really, one against Reach team earlier on where they lost Clix, and that second one where Clix again died. I'm not trying to team blame Clix. These are just the games I've chosen. So yeah, unfortunately, mid-game fights looking a little rough for them, and it kind of resulted in the end the game losing out. Let's watch one more because I feel like they kind of honestly just been a lot of like similar mistakes. All right, I saw this. This is game 11 now. This is the game that was actually like the most dead game, so you didn't really need to worry about Surge that much. I'm not sure if they traded earlier on. Let me actually go back and check that. So yeah, in this game 11, they don't end up trading. They don't do their normal Surge strat. And instead, they sneak on, like, Kanada's team. This was all on the broadcast, and honestly, they had to end up... I swear they moved off the POV after a while, because they spent so long doing this, right? Like, in this scenario, you're essentially trying to trade with 2 teams. So, you're waiting until either Rapid here is by himself, which there is ample opportunity for this. Let's wait until he peeks around in a second. You guys could just sneak up and shoot him right now. Like, I'm not sure what the pathing thought... I'm not sure what the thought process is of, like, this point here of waiting for him to rotate past, because he's going to go further over here. because he ends up rotating. He's way off. Like, he's already way over here because he's hit the geyser, which is what they were doing every game. So if you like studied the strat, it's kind of easy to see he's doing that, going up into the... Actually, let me show you what I did before, rather than just explaining it like an idiot. So as you know, Clix's team is trying to counter strat right now. They're trying to find an opportunity where Rapid is in the open, or Canada and Bolts gets knocked in the feed because they don't have anonymous mode on. But the problem is, I don't know if they've like studied Rapid strats enough, because they're waiting for him to come back, but that's not what he's going to do, because anyone knows with their setup right here that they sit on the geyser, as Rapid does. I don't know why he's moonwalking right now, and that flies him up into the pad here where he can drop more heals, right? So at this time, you still have like Clix's team waiting for him. Like, they're still scouting to try and look where he is, but he's already flown up here, and they still don't have the opportunity to like, tag him at all. So now, if he's just fast forward here, it's like a long time. Okay, they've spotted he's back. We're gonna go somewhere else now. We're gonna sneak up here. This, I would love to see how long this takes. Like, imagine how much time is wasted with this play here, because there's like just pretty poor execution of it. Now, I think one of the things that they're doing is they are currently waiting to see in the elim feed when one of them gets knocked, right? So it's not just trying to solo out Rapid, it's trying to wait for Canada and Bolts to get knocked. But as you notice, I actually don't think they've been knocked at all. So there is... Oh no, he got knocked, sorry, yeah. So they actually didn't get knocked at all here, which is pretty lucky for them here. I think they end up getting spotted, I can say, by Bolts. I'm not sure who ends up actually spotting them. But like, man, they are committing a lot of time to this to get literally nothing out of it. I think it's from this point here, if we watch from Rapid's POV, he just literally spots them. Yeah, there you go. He just sees them. It's like they've committed like 4 or 5, 6 minutes, 4 or 5 or 6 minutes to get literally nothing out of the play, unfortunately. So pretty poor attempt at a counter strat. Why is everyone just moonwalking in this replay, man? They do chop them, but they've just fizzed, and they get straight onto a slurp truck here. I think this ends up coming into a 3v3 fight. Yep, full 3v3. Team's boxed up. They have some damage from chopping the team out, from Canada's team, but like pretty minimal. Some whites left. I mean, they're not committing to this fight anymore. You can obviously tell they're not trying to like take actually the full 3v3. They're just gonna full dip now. So basically, they spent 4 or 5 minutes to get like 100 damage out of that, which is really unfortunate. Not the best counter strat I've ever seen. We did see in this exact same game, actually. I'm pretty sure it was this game. A team, like a Middle Eastern team who was camping on Vanya's team. Oh no, this was the game that Queasy camped on. Yeah, this is actually the game that Queasy counter-stratted them, as you can see them rotating past here. So you have one example of a really good counter-strat, one example of a pretty poorly executed one instead. I think one of the things about that play is like when Rapid is by himself early on, you just gotta commit to it and just get it. Like, rather, there's 3 of you with all of the ARs, so had they just gone and actually like sprayed, gone for 3-2-1 on Rapid earlier, they could have just committed the kill. I'm not really sure why they were so hesitant like as soon as they walked up, because a bad play done quickly and together is almost always better than like a play where you're going to hesitate, question it, what we doing, should we do, should we do this, should we do that, etc, etc. So this here, I think this is actually a good example of why this is a problem. I don't know if I'll actually mute Clix so you can't hear him, but basically what he says is they triple spray Canada, get the kill here. This is a different game. I'm just watching his VOD of him explaining it just so I can get more context. And they said they basically don't key this. They don't W key because they think it's going to be a long fight. To me, a 3v2, if that's going to be a long fight against, obviously they're 2 good players, but like up against Rapid and Bolts, like that shows the lack of confidence that this team has keying in this style of lobby. It's a 3v2, you've already killed one. Sure, they're gonna have max. Well, it'll take a long time, but like maybe the fight shouldn't take a long time. If you're in a 3v2, you should be able to finish that relatively quickly. Obviously, it's the best players in the world. I'm not trying to diminish the fact that it's going to be a tough fight, but I think that just kind of shows a little bit of the lack of confidence they have in taking a mid-game fight. Is it 100% the best fight to take? I'm not sure that it is, because you do have a max next zone. I don't know how much surge they had prior to this point either. So I'm not saying it's like 100% the right or wrong play to leave, but I know he's saying, basically Clix has said here, I think in retrospect, we probably should have keyed that. So yeah, generally, I just think there was a lot of mistakes just looking at the games I did. I didn't watch all 12 games. I'm definitely not trying to team blame any one individual player or whatnot. It's trios. It's a trio game mode. Hopefully these players have learned from globals and they can take kind of that information forward. Now the second team I want to look at is Pete, Cold, and Ritual. Now their games were kind of stinky for different reasons, of course. Now one of the things I find very interesting, actually let me just show you the stats. All right, we got the stats from this team. Now a lot of players are always hating on Richie. They're hating on Richie. He's top fragging across the day, so let's go. Damage, obviously not quite so much. Damage ratio, also not quite so much either. But let's put some respect on Richie's name here before we go into this, because he ended up top fragging across the team. All right, so their drop was very interesting. They essentially triple landed here on the train. So, of course, looking at the off-spawn, originally they were going to be landing at Dystopia City, but you had Tay-Tay's team and Epic Whale's team landing there, so triple contesting that basically made absolutely no sense. So instead, they decided to go to this train and get a bunch of loot. Now, what that does is that really messes up in diminished braids and rituals, because now they're kind of contested in this area where they, historically have been completely uncontested. And I think they managed to get an Elim out of the sky here, if I am correct, because they managed to land here first. Yep, AR grabbed, diminished weak. That is one knock. I don't think they get the full Elim out of it, but they managed to get the knock, so that kind of griefs their team a little bit. Now, I wonder what they actually tend to do from here. Let me see. So, as you can see from the, what is this called? I can't even remember. The battle map. That's what it's called, the battle map. You can see they land here, and then they rotate into Dystopia, and then rotate out past that. So, despite the fact they got the knock here, it's interesting they decided to push into this. Now, this is obviously basically what they're doing is they're getting some loot, grabbing some like extra materials and stuff as they rotate here, moving in, and then this fight is a 3v3, and they're there to third party. So they get Surge, they get some Elims. That's at least the plan. So the team's fighting. You got Pete third partying here. Everyone's weak. You can't see their materials. Obviously, it says Pete has 0, but he actually has, they've got a lot, tons, because there's tons of like cat brick here. They have the little crash pad on top. Raito's hiding. They managed to get a knock. That's Cold, managed to get his first Elim there. So already the fight's off to a really, really good start. This is game 1, just for reference. Paper ends up padding away. They get the crack, like knock out into the sky on Epic Whale. Like, man, this is going so well. It's now a 3v2. It's the crash pad. Pete goes up. He's going for a good pinch, right? He's going around the left side. He gets straight on the wall, goes to the pickaxe. Victory holds it. Max pump. Builds him a full house, and Pete is just wiped out. All right, he's going for the reds. You see Pete on approach, hits the wall. Good timing to block. Victory hits the side wall. Look at this. Look at this. Beautiful. I ain't ever seen Pete in a full house like that. Hit by the max. Dink headshot to wipe him out as well. I swear, this moment is just like an absolute confidence killer for Pete. I feel like, I swear, like, watching him for the rest of the tournament, he didn't look like himself. He really honestly didn't. But yeah, you can't see their inventory of their mats, but it's based on their health. You can tell that they are absolutely not healthy after rebooting. 117 below Storm Surge as well. You know, you're not able to trade with a team because they're rebooting. You know, they didn't get that much surge and damage off spawn. They got like 1 Elim and a knock, and then a couple other tags as well before getting put down. So, you know, this game, they're not set up hugely for success. They did get a good amount of damage. The fact they're actually still above is actually still impressive. But yeah, they're really, really scuffed coming into this point of the game. Now 30 below. Cold does good damage to get them slightly up above. Good little tarp set themselves in here. The lobby focus does start to come through. It's Veno's team on the sidewall. Cold drops straight down. They're now basically in 3v3. He's full boxed. His teammates are not editing him out for some reason. What's going on here? Can't really see. Hold on. Let me make this visibility better, because I can't see absolutely anything which is going on right now. Getting lobby focused. Oh, it's because he's full boxed. Richie's trying to get him out the back. He goes down. Looks like Pete has no mats. Yeah, he just gets hit. Yeah, he's got maybe 1 or 2 builds. Nice slide in. Almost actually managed to. The fact they almost killed him there is very impressive. Richie left as a solo. Good output, but he's down. So, off spawn and this kind of general strategy in the first game basically just messed them up. If you look at the placements, it's all very kind of similar games. That one we just watched was that 20th place, 17th, 23rd, 22nd. That had a couple of limbs. 29th. They did start to go a little nuclear in the last game on day 2, which I'll probably look into this one, or game 1, sorry, day 1, sorry. 11th, 14th. You know, they started to frag out a lot more on the second day here. Like, as you can see, like, the first day really it just was not coming together. So I want to see their good game in comparison to how it's kind of gone poorly in the other ones. All right, in the final game of the day, still doing the same drop spot, landing on the train. So they're still able to get a good amount of loot. Like, the general drop spot hasn't actually changed yet. And as you can see, the battle map also, it's like the exact same thing, right? So they land over here, the train, rotate past into Dystopia, and then, you know, move on to the rest of the game after that. So it's not like the game plan's actually drastically different coming into, like, the final game on the day, where it was in comparison to the first day. All right, you see the third party now that they've rotated in. The Fizz crash is out. Oh, this is a free land on head. Bang! Fortunately, Richie shot the other player. Epic Whale down, but he managed to get the first Elim either way. Max surge on the bodies as well. I like the fact they just fully box them and just make sure they focus on max surge on the bodies. Is that? Well, I take it that was just 2 Elims. That was just 2. Yeah, so there is still a solo left, and there's a full team left here as well. This is also one of the games to get the Queen. The Queen only spawned here, I think, in 3 of 12 games. So Acorn's team, who we'll look at next, did manage to get it in 9 of the 12 games. But obviously, this sets Cold, Peterbot, and Ritual up pretty well in this match. And then, of course, for their surge strategy, the Asia team... Double sitting in the code. No, Cold, watch out. Okay, he was not aware. He was not aware. Yeah, okay, now they get into a straight 3v3 with the Asia team who was left here. So obviously they managed to get 2 Elims onto Epic Whale's team, but there's still the other team left here. And if you're going to go keying, you know, if you're not surge trading, you need to be aggressive. You need to get multiple Elims. Just wiping out a couple players is not enough. So this is a fight they're going to need to commit to. Ooh, okay, nice shot there from Cold. Tay on the angle, a horrible angle for him, I will say. Cold with the drop down, trying to get straight into the box. Nice wall take, the max damage as well. All right, Tay, I'll be honest, you're fighting some horrible angles here. I don't know how scuffed they were with mats and whatnot. 2 elims now. The pre-edit comes out. Cold ends up getting knocked. Pete still left in it. He's hovering like Jesus, but okay, managed to go out. So 5 elims off Brit. I guess this is the kind of game plan that they really wanted to do every single game, where they come in just third party this fight. They have good mats. They come in, get a bunch, get all the loot, and then they're set up and sorted for the rest of the match. Like, this was the ideal game plan. It just obviously in day 1 didn't really work out that well for them in every game outside of this one. Also, Pete is carrying the coin, which is interesting because a lot of teams are dropping it. I don't know if it's like a statement where they want everyone to know where they are. Yeah, they're actually one of the few people who are keeping the medallion in this region, or in every region, I guess. Pete has the medallion. Also, as I mentioned, he has the medallion, but he also has the exotic AR, so they've gone to the bunker in this game. So they're really playing like the good games are unsurprisingly those ones where they play the kind of typical play style, go for the most overpowered loot possible. My god, what beautiful tracking. Again though, the lack of like surge trading has them only 60, like 70 above. Like, this has been like a good game. This has been, I don't want to say perfect, but this was to the game plan that they had. They have 8 elims and they're 70 above. So really, really brutal surge for the teams who are in trading. I'm not sure, yeah, they're below now. I don't know if they actually get ticked this match or not. I have not zoomed ahead. But as you just see, like, they're just constantly falling further and further below. Still have 40 seconds before surge is actually active. Good high layer that they managed to get to, but 200 below is so rough, or 130 below at this point in the game. See if we can get a little bang, a little something from Pete to put them up above. The fact they've got absolutely nothing right now is very surprising, I'll be honest. Like, waiting for the team to target front side, triple spray, 0 damage. Teams in wood, that should be easy damage. Nice little bit of lag. Okay, 75, yep, still below. Now, Pete's making a good play and got a bit aggressive, but no, he gets tagged from height at the same time. So he has to drop all the way down. Gets Seti, but unfortunately Seti's got like 10 HP. So the 22 above, they get triple spray down. They're in wood. Unable to get a refresh really early on, so down to wood. Matt's looking a little shambles. The kind of late mid game hasn't looked too great. Bad angle. Gets banged. Down to 11 HP. Dead to surge. Rough game. Ooh, Cold going a little crazy though. Okay. Hold on, it's not all over yet. Ritual also dies. Cold solo clutch. Ooh, beautiful knock. I think he's going to die. I was going to say to Storm, but no. I think he still has a Siphon active as well. Hit this edit, please, Cold. Thank you. Now he gets the Siphon there, but backside zone, Way's already there. For some reason, also sitting in Storm for so long. So, yeah. I'll be honest. I think, like, the off-spawn for these guys was obviously a massive problem, but I don't think Pete looked like Pete. Like, I've never seen Pete full-boxed. So many of these scenarios where you see him able to just get elim after elim after elim in some of the biggest tournaments. I didn't feel like I saw that at all, really, come to this global. So, yeah, maybe he wasn't on top form. Looking at the stats, it didn't seem like he was by himself, not top fragging on his team. Same as kind of also happened in previous seasons or as well, not at globals. So yeah, maybe next year we'll see Pete back full on top form. But now let's look into the last team, Poyo, Acorn, and Agers. So I think this is the one that surprises me the most because they ended up 16th, and in my predictions I put them second. They probably got almost like half the points of that. A lot of people would have also put them first, and I feel like they genuinely actually got half of the amount of points that people predicted them to. And you look at the match history, it's so all over the place, right? 21st, 16th, 15th, 4th, 5th, couple good games, 14th, 27th in there. I think that was where they got keyed in the end game, 21st. So, like, there's so many just random games. So, again, let's take a look at one of the poor ones. Let's take a look at game number exactly 1 and see where it all went wrong. Before we do that, though, of course, we have the stats coming in. Damage rank, of course, ignore Acorn. He's not surge trading. These two are surge trading, so obviously they have way more damage. Elims-wise, Acorn still looking pretty decent as well. Like, he's the IGL, and he's still keeping up with Poyo and Aegis. I actually think that in terms of damage ratio here, 1.52, I think that was the highest from Aegis. I could be wrong. Correct. Don't correct me, actually. Don't even bother. Don't even bother correct me. But I think that's might be correct or might be wrong. So overall, like, nothing crazy out of the stats. I don't think there's anything here that's like, oh, this player was awful and this player was the absolute GOAT. So yeah, straight away in game 1, there's not really anyone to actually trade with, which is really funny because usually you do have Braid's diminished team who's on this hill here ramping up, which as you see, they did end up doing later. But, right now it's first zone. They're sitting set up ready to trade with someone and there's just no one there. There's just literally no one around them. So obviously that's going to happen in a lot of tournaments game 1s. There's also teams who are usually on this side. I don't know where this team's gone because there was a Middle Eastern team. Oh yeah, they've just rotated far. They've gone right out. So the Middle Eastern team who's here has not looked to trade with them in this first game either. So there's pretty much just no one around them. Now you can see Braid's team building this up, but as they get here, I think they just realized that there's essentially no one there, right? Like they're dropping a bunch of extra heals. They've set up to surge trade in the second zone. Visuals has gone up. He's ramped even higher. Well, as he started to shoot, maybe did he see them pad there? He didn't see the pad. He's shooting and there's just no one there. Yeah, they're sitting acid spraying. And I think they decide, you know what, this ain't worth it. So they end up dipping and going to try a different surge strat completely. So then that leaves Poyo's team with no one to surge trade with because they weren't sitting there. Now, I know this doesn't happen every single game, but just this one in particular is interesting. So then later on, if I skip forward, they've managed to get 200 above, but 200 above at this point of the game really means like for the next zone, you're like 500-600 below. So because they've not actually dealt that much damage up until this point, like, yeah, there you go. He's already 13 above. So the first Storm Surge threshold they're already struggling with in the first game, which, you know, if you're watching, seems surprising, but now looking at the actual gameplay, like the teams they would trade Surge with are gone. And that's kind of one of the big problems where you don't know what every single team is doing in the lobby because they could just go and do a completely different strategy and then you're just absolutely messed up. Yeah, getting tagged by active Surge. 200 damage below goes to make the crash pad play. Ooh, yeah, he's just dead. Dead to Surge. And the other two don't survive that much longer either. Now, what's funny is in game 2, they did just the exact same thing, but this time Braids was just on the right hill. It's interesting how if another team makes a slight change in your Surge strategy, when in a trading meta that is, how you can just be completely messed up. Whereas in this game, like, I think they're going to be completely... I don't know if they're completely fine for Surge, but at least they have one person to trade with. I would say, though, a lot of other teams have significantly more. Peterbot's team has also done an interesting play where rather than keying into, this is game 2, in Dystopia, they key south into the Middle Eastern team here. And now I wonder if they've actually held this Surge position to trade or if they're just fighting. No, they're just fighting team. So I was wondering if these guys were then going to trade with Acorn's team, but it wouldn't make too much sense because they won't have that many extra heals to trade back with. So yeah, that doesn't make too much sense. So I think one of the main problems that Acorn, Aegis, and Poyo are really going to have is the fact that, sure, they're in a Surge trade meta, right? They're trading with one person who's extremely far away, and now you have two, right? So it's two at this point. But, you know, when we looked earlier, for example, at Higgs' team, they had two players here, and they had one over here. So they're three, and these two are much closer, so it's easier to get tags. These two are like 2v2 or sometimes 2v3. Queasy's team is also similar in a closer range. So the big problem that these have, they're so far away, so you're going to hit less damage, and there's only one team you can trade against. So if they're not there, it can just completely mess you up. It does seem like they have the Middle Eastern team this game to tag with, like I said, just rotating behind them. The output that they've got in terms of damage is, even though they're trading, is so much less than other teams. So despite all of that, they're still only 44 above in this game, come to the 7th zone. So even though they did well in the very, very early game to get tags, you know, way better than the previous match, they still are actually struggling with damage. Now, I do wonder if that's just because of this play they did earlier. What is going on here? I don't know what's happening in this replay, but apparently you can just see through. Okay, maybe has this place changed? This place must have changed or something like that since this was added in that latest patch. But it's the 4th zone, and they ended up padding deep into Storm, right? So they padded deep into Storm here, grabbing a bunch of extra loot. Oh yeah, this place must have changed in the most recent patch then. Okay, so this doesn't look like this right now. I think because they then spent so much time in Storm, getting, you know, extra heals, extra mats, getting themselves all set up, there's basically a ton of time where they got no damage. And I think in order to play Storm like this for a significant period of time, say like the way Queasy was playing in this, you just have to get even more damage. Like if you're not the team with the #1 damage in the lobby, then there's just no way you can spend this much time not getting damage and doing nothing, because inevitably you'll be below later. So you can see in this game, that's kind of what they did, right? They were 1500 above by the 3rd zone, so they did get so much damage earlier on, and they thought they were super safe to go and play the Storm. However, they then spent like a zone and a half, 2 zones in the Storm, dealing 0 damage. And you can see that like 1500 that they have here, they were below in like the 7th zone, was it? Sorry, in the 8th zone, where they needed 1850. So basically, they needed around 200 more damage than they actually got, but from around the 3rd to 4th zone, they essentially just got very, very minimal. So really interesting. I think maybe just the thresholds were higher than they thought. Maybe they thought they had more damage and were safe to play the Storm at that moment, but it doesn't seem like it. So yeah, obviously the goal of this video is not to hate on any one player, to team blame. I just really wanted to see what went wrong with some of the teams where players predict them to do extremely well, and try to explain how a meta or their specific gameplay choices can result in them not placing top 10, top 5, etc. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe. Peace.